I was curious to see what it would be like to have a president of the United States that was close to the ground, you know, somebody who hadn't spent a career sort of learning the ways of Washington. That's one of the reasons why I support this run so vigorously, not just because I know Barack is brilliant and he's smart and he's engaged and he cares and all that good stuff that you say about your husband when he's not looking. But because I know that we are still so close to the lives that most Americans are living. And I don't know about you, but for most of my lifetime, I've felt disconnected from Washington. That when decisions are made and things happen, you're sort of left at your kitchen table scratching your head wondering, well, who's that supposed to help? Because that doesn't reflect the reality on the ground. And part of me sort of said, well, maybe it's because the further up you go and the longer you're gone, the harder it is to remember the struggles on the ground. And we're just coming out of those struggles, not just because we're a young couple with small kids with all the challenges and the emotions and the stresses that come with raising kids, like being a working mom. Barack and I have had interesting conversations about, you know, not just our share in the household, but what burden does that have on me? You know, trying to hold down a job because you need to do that to pay off your loan debt and to keep up with bills even when you've got great degrees like we do. You know, work isn't a choice. It never felt like a choice to me. But I always felt like I was never doing anything 100% right because you're divided among so many different needs, trying to be a good mother, a good wife, trying to keep your marriage together, trying to make sure you're healthy, trying to make sure your kids are loved and cared for. You know, those stresses tend to eat up families in ways that I don't think that we even acknowledge. So the lack of child care, quality, affordable child care is critical to the health and well-being of our communities. It's not an option. You know, having decent public education. I am a product of public education. One of the reasons my parents were able to do what they did was because they didn't have to set aside money for a private school because the neighborhood schools around the corner were decent. But now every family is struggling with trying to figure out whether their kids are going to be in a good system and how do you get in that system and do you live in the right place and is No Child Left Behind really doing what it needs to do and will they be able to compete and get in a college? We could go on and on and on. I mean, this is the life we're living right now, and it's not getting better. It is not getting better, and this has been the case through Republican and Democratic administrations. The party hasn't changed the problem. So I'm behind this man because I'm curious to see what happens when you get somebody who's decent, who's smart and honest and connected, and what happens when you engage, you know, a democracy around that kind of leadership. You know, how do you affect change? And we've been pleasantly surprised, but there is a lot of work to do because this whole process works against everything that Barack is trying to do. And it's been interesting to watch. But we're hopeful. We've seen a lot of good stuff traveling around the country, decent people. You know, and the thing that Barack says, and I'm the cynic in the family. I am the one, right? This is the hope guy. I've seen it. I'm like, you really do believe this stuff, don't you? And it's a good thing because he has always said, because I've spent my life trying to convince him not to be a politician. It's like, teach, write, sing, dance. I don't care what you do. Just don't do this. These people are mean. He's like, no. But he has always said from the time that we met that his experience is that the American people are decent. And most folks want the same thing, and we get lost in our division and our isolation. And that if you could find a leader who could unite people around values and bring together some common sense truth, some truth telling as we call it, you know, if you did a little truth telling, that the American people could handle tough truth, followed by courage, and they would be ready to sacrifice if they felt that the sacrifice was to a greater good. And that's what we've been seeing. But we're not there yet.
Not there yet.
Not there yet. So I like this man.
She
I
voted
like
for him.
this man.
She voted for him.